Sirens, Slammers, and Service, a podcast for female first responders by female first responders. My name is Nikki Clucci, and I will be your host. As a former correctional officer in Alberta for almost 2 decades and the founder of Blue Line Fitness Testing, which provides law enforcement fitness testing and first responder wellness workshops, I started this podcast as a way for female first responders to share the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of their daily work. I want to showcase the unique perspectives, skill sets, and personalities that women bring to a first responder career and share their stories. So get ready to laugh your ass off, learn a whole bunch, and be inspired by some pretty badass women. Let's go.
Welcome back, guys. We are back today, and our guest is joining us all the way from Prince George, BC. Today, I am joined by Katie Gordon. Katie and I are rugby friends. Of course, you guys, you know that most of my guests are from rugby because rugby is the best sport in the entire world. But Katie also has a very lengthy history through both law enforcement and through fire. She started in 2000 as an animal cruelty officer with SPCA and did some bylaw work, and then spent 7 years in corrections. And then she spent another 11 years now with Prince George Fire. And on top of all that, you guys, she co-founded the 1697 Rugby Club, which is a first responder group that was geared up to go play in the World Police Fire Games, which if you've listened to the podcast, you know I love the World Police Fire Games, guys. It makes me happy. And then she also started a youth program and a regional program called the Aurora Wolves. And she's been running that for the last 4 years. So we're going to dive deep into all of this stuff. But welcome, Katie. How are you?
Good. I'm stoked to be here.
I'm so excited. Katie and I actually got to spend the weekend together 3 weeks ago now. We ran a rugby camp, a developmental camp for girls here in Edmonton, Kyle Iron Minds Performance. Such a great camp. So many good girls, really great information. We had sports psychologists and nutritionists and therapists, and we did a bunch of rugby skills. We did a bunch of team bonding stuff. And my heart is still full from that weekend. That is what we need in this world. We need more of that work. So we actually got to hang out together and it was great. It was a great weekend. So I'm so happy to have you on the pod. And so I want to dive in because knowing you through rugby and all that stuff, and knowing you were in the first responder role, but it's not everything that we've ever really had a chance to chat about or kind of touch on. So tell me all about it. So 26 years in the first responder world, started back in 2000. What drew you to this? What called you to this line of work? And then tell me all about all the transitions through everything that you've done.
It's been kind of funny because a lot of it's just been circumstance, I guess. At the time, my mom was running the SPCA, so she was the manager, and she hired me in as a kennel attendant. And then when I graduated, I continued and went into different titles, but similar roles, whether it was animal cruelty investigations or, some cities have their bylaw tied into their animal control. So you do both. And so, it just kind of led me down a path. And then through other community networks that I've had, I got a really cool opportunity to work with the RCMP for a couple of years as a contract employee. And I helped with a provincial program in the Indigenous policing services. So that was super cool and really early on in my journey where they were trying to recruit me to be a police officer. But the fire department kind of had their hooks into me already. I did a student in the workplace program in my grade 12 year with Prince George Fire. And I was like, this is it. This is for me. This is what I want to do. And, it was funny because there'd never been a female firefighter in Prince George. So they have a wonderful set of dispatchers. And at the time that had already been trailblazed and they'd moved away from the firefighters that worked in dispatch. And we had more women employed in those roles. So the representation was there, but it just looked different. So they had no idea what to do with me as a student in the workplace where, if we were on night shifts, I got to hang out and dispatch with the ladies and they'd be come get me for calls and be like, okay, now we got to go. So it was cool to see both of those come together. But I was a kid and I was like, I'm going to be Prince George's first female firefighter. And that always kind of just stayed with me. I had really cool opportunities in law enforcement. Like I said, just certain circumstances. And I didn't have the female mentorship to know how to navigate the fire service the same way. I knew one woman that was a firefighter back when I played rugby. And she's really been an influence to me. So I knew that it was possible, but I was like, oh, I'm gonna have my kids first, and then I'll look at the fire service, because you never know what your body's gonna do after having children. So I hung out in law enforcement a little bit longer and had my kids and got them established. And when our kids hit that kindergarten age, I started really pursuing fire with like a serious force.
That is so awesome. I love it. I love that you had like set your sights on that and you were like, I'm going to be that. I'm going to like, that's it. I'm going to do it. So did you like, you grew up in Prince George, like your whole life you've been in that area?
For the most part, like we moved away for a bit. I married a boy from Ottawa, so we did move to Ontario for a little while and tried that out. And I got to experience some other things. I volunteered with like the Cambridge Fire Museum and really got to know like the history of fire and everything else. So that was really cool. And I actually ended up shortlisted for a couple of municipalities when I applied to there as well. But my husband and I had always said, like, when Prince George opened up their competition, that I was going to run that competition. And if they'd offered me a job, we were going to move home. So luckily for me, that's what happened. And I'm like, oh, they called me, done. I didn't leave like a forwarding number or anything, which is probably really good, because I sat on a wait list for a couple of years through a hiring freeze. So it would have sucked to have known, oh, I could have been working and like fulfilling this. And like I said, now knowing what I do and going through it and watching the women that I work with and coworkers from other departments navigate, maternity leave and pregnancy on the job and everything. I'm like, I could have done this so much earlier. And I work with some really great guys that, because I did grow up in this community, they got hired at, 22, 23, and they're way above me in seniority. And, it's kind of one of those catch-22s. I wouldn't have been the applicant that I was because of the life experience I brought in. But at the same time, you do delay that just with the unknowns. When I got hired, I cut my hair really short. I didn't know you could have a ponytail and wear a fire helmet. And now you see it all the time where I'm like, oh, that's a thing. And so, you navigate it as you go. And that's why that, I don't know, I work with Camp Ignite, which is a girls camp, like firefighter camp. And it's been so cool in that community to learn the women that, are far senior to me and trailblaze that program, and then becoming part of that program and showing girls that want to be firefighters that are in that similar stage of life that I was when I first got interested in the job, just be like, hey, that's really cool. And you can keep your ponytail and you can have nice nails and you can wear nail polish and it doesn't make you less than.
Yeah, I love it. I'm so glad you mentioned Camp Ignite. So for our listeners, Deborah Rogers, if you guys go back, I think I should have looked this up, but I think season 8, we talked to Deborah, who basically founded this Camp Ignite. And it's incredible the work that you guys are doing. I absolutely love it. And I think it is so important too. Like you said, it's very hard to navigate this world if you don't have a female role model to figure out things or bounce ideas off of or talk to, or just even ask what you feel would be a stupid question. Am I allowed to keep my ponytail? There's no fucking way you're going to ask a male that, right? There's no fucking way you're like, I will just keep that deep down inside until I figure out by situational awareness whether or not it's okay to do that or not okay to do whatever it is, or, I'm allowed to have this or not allowed to have this. But when you have that role model, or even just again, that person, that touch point that you can go to and be like, hey, is this okay? Or how should I do this? Or how should I navigate the situation? And so I think it's so important for women that are in the career right now to look back behind you and see who's coming up through the ranks and be that person for them. Because if you remember when, again, I started in 2002, there was females in corrections. There wasn't a lot of us. There definitely wasn't a lot of us. I think there was maybe 5 of us on my shift, and there was 60 people on our shift. So there wasn't a lot. And you also have to pick and choose who you want to role model after, because some people you do not. You watch that and you're like, that's a hard pass. I will not be, that is not my role model. And so then it limits even further, right? That okay, well, there's maybe one person that you want to go to, or you trust, or you have, that relationship with, that you can go and ask those questions. So I love that you guys are doing it, and that you're being there for these young women coming up to be able to say, hey, can I ask you a question? Or, hey, what about this? Or, hey, do you think I can even do this? Because the answer, by the way, listeners, is always fucking yes. The answer is always fucking yes. yes, you can do it. Yes, you should do it. Stop doubting yourself. Get the fuck out there. Go for it. Fucking lock in and let's go because yes, you can do it. So if you're having a moment of self-doubt, just, yeah, fucking do it. Okay, so we went from bylaw and kind of SPCA into that RCMP contract. And then, so how old were you at this point?
I was like 19. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, you were still young too. Okay.
I was
And so
a kid.
then, yeah, right, babies. I know when we think we know everything and then we realize how much we fucking did not know.
I remember because when I transferred, so I started at North Fraser Pretrial, which is in like Poco, and it was a brand new facility. So that was really neat. And then I moved back to Prince George and transferred to like the Prince George Regional Correctional Facility. And I had a couple of friends that worked in the youth correction side. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like I like working with kids and, you know, it's a little bit more interactive and it sounded a little bit more up my alley. So I went to the youth correction side as well. And was fortunate enough to be put in like a shift supervisor role. And I remember one of the like old guards taking me aside and be like, something goes wrong. We're not helping you because you're a child. It's like, oh, okay, well, guess we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
Luckily, I come from like a very like long history of sports where, you know, some people would like think that it's cocky. I don't know if it's cocky, but I come from like a martial arts and a fighting background where once you get in the ring, this is what you trained for and it's going to be what it's going to be. And if I get my ass kicked, well, I'll go back and reevaluate, but I'm not going to worry about it now. And that's just kind of been my mentality through life where, you know, here I am, I'll do my best. And if my best isn't good enough, I'll go back and hit the training ground.
I love that. But again, like great mentality because even if you do have the training, it never fucking goes like you've trained. Like it never fucking goes. Like it's like, okay, this is exactly what is going to happen. And then we're going to do this, guys. And then we're going to do this. And then you get out in the real world and you're like, none of the things that they said would happen are happening in the order that they said, right? Like, we're like, none of these things. Oh my God, this is way different than what they told me would happen. And yeah, I know that that's that feeling of being the young pup as a supervisor and like the senior guys, like being pissed. I worked on our like admin seg, disciplinary seg floor. So it was like half the floor was admin seg, then it was like disciplinary seg, and then the other side was all females. And that was the floor that I ran when I became a first supervisor. And yeah, like the guys that were running the seg unit were just like, we're not listening to you. Like, I don't give a shit what you want us to do. Like, we're not listening to you. And I was like, again, like 25, I think. And I'm like, but you're supposed to listen because I'm the supervisor. And like, how do I navigate this? Like, how the fuck? Because same as you, right? I'm a pretty strong, opinionated person. And I kind of was like, go fuck yourself. Yeah, you will listen to me. But then also knowing that you need to navigate it because you can't come across like that because that just makes it worse. But you also don't want to come across as like this, like, okay, guys, like, I guess, like, please do it. Please, because then they're like, fuck you, we won't do it. So you have to find that, like, what's that happy medium of how are you going to get them to actually do what the fuck they need to do? Because they need to fucking do it and you need to make them do it without going on either of those ends. So yeah, I do get it. And you do just figure it out. You just get in there and you're like, some days you're a bitch and other days you're kind of nice. And other days you just kind of like, you know what, this is not the hill I'm going to die on today. I don't actually give a fuck if you do that, but it's on you if it gets fucked up. Like I can't with you. So, you know, like it's your unit, run it the way you want. So tell me about corrections, because obviously, you know, I come from corrections. I know Prince George. I drive past it all the time. My husband is from Smithers, and so we go past Prince George, past the jail every fucking time on our way to Smithers. And every fucking time I look over and I'm like, oh, look, they've added a little greenhouse. Oh, look, they've added this. Oh, what's that thing that they're doing, right? Love to do it. And have you ever noticed that no matter where you go, you can pick a jail out like fucking instantly before you ever see the razor wire or anything? You're like, that's a jail.
Yeah.
Like instantly. But so tell me about Prince George. So it's a remand and a sentence facility, right? Because it's the only facility in the north of BC.
That's yeah. So yeah, we're remand and provincial. So as long as you don't have like 2 years less a day.
Yeah.
So anything that's been sentenced 2 years less a day, you can probably stay given capacities, and then anything that would be furthermore would go somewhere else.
And you have male and female there, right?
They do, yes.
Yeah. And then there is also a youth jail in Prince George.
Yeah, so Prince George has its own, well, it had a youth facility. It's just recently gone under some contracts. I left there in 2011, so things have changed a lot in the last 15 years. But yeah, they do have a youth side as well that was tucked away closer to the airport.
Okay. And then, so how many inmates did you have on a unit?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Blue Line Fitness Testing is a premier law enforcement fitness testing and training center based in Edmonton. Specializing in helping individuals prepare for the physical demands of a career in law enforcement, we offer comprehensive fitness evaluations, specialized training programs, and classes tailored to meet the unique needs of our clients. Our facility hosts a range of classes and are committed to fostering a supportive and empowering environment where clients can achieve their fitness goals. Our team includes experienced trainers who bring specialized expertise in law enforcement, self-defense, personal training, and rehabilitation. We engage through our community through challenges, events, and our podcast, and we are dedicated to helping individuals succeed in their fitness journeys and career aspirations in law enforcement. Are you looking to get started with your career? Come see Blue Line Fitness Testing, and we'll get you there.
It varied, depending on, are we talking adult or youth?
Adult, sorry.
Adult, it really varied depending on the unit. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have were you at capacity? Were you guys maxed out for beds and stuff?
Usually, yes. Yeah. Usually, there were the occasions where people were double bunked and things like that, where you try really hard not to do that, but obviously capacity is capacity.
Yeah. And then were you 2 staff per unit or 1 staff per unit? 1 staff. Yeah.
So
I know.
1 staff. Yeah.
It's crazy. I know so going from the old remands, right, to 1 staff per unit, but then a floater that could go in between. And then we went to the new jail. And so I was part of the opening of the committee and the staffing and how we're going to do it. Right. And so that big move from we went closed supervision from the bubble model to put the desk out in the middle, which I don't know. What is Prince George? Is it open concept or a closed concept?
No, it was an open concept. Obviously all the cells are there, but yeah, it's an open concept with an open living area.
Yeah. Right. And so then our staff losing their minds that they're going to be outside of the bubble. Right. And so then this demand from the union for all these extra staff, right? We need to have all these staff. Okay. Well, good luck fucking hiring 800 people to fill this fucking jail. But we did. And so then having this they've got 2 to 3 staff per unit, right? Each unit for sure has 2 staff, plus you have a floater or 2 on these units. Yes, 72 inmates per unit, but whatever. And then you talk to I talk to people in the States all the time. They're 1 fucking staff with 144 inmates.
And they're the States is a whole other ballpark.
Totally. But they're just I'm sorry, did you say you have 3 staff for 72 inmates? And I'm yeah, sometimes when they're I got to come to Canada.
Yeah.
Only at the remand though, only at Edmonton remand. The rest of the jails, they're still struggling. And again, I know it's different now. I've been gone for 6 years too. So I know the staffing is getting tough and they are running short staffed on some units and stuff, but I do know they try really hard to keep 2 staff per unit. So yeah, to have 1 staff per unit, to have to take care of everything on your own and know that you're on your own on that range with those inmates. And if shit goes south, right, it does. There's definitely some stuff that goes with that. And so then again, because I know this is a while back for you, but what were your shifts? Were you working 8s or 12s?
Yeah, we usually did 12. So you'd work 2 big days and then your 2 nights, and then you'd have your 4 off. And then we went when I was with the youth facility, we kind of trialed a different model where you do a little block where you did, at 3 to 11, and then your 2 big nights, you do 2 little shifts, 2 big shifts. And then you do a 7 to 3 in the morning and then a 7 to 7. So 2 little shifts, 2 big shifts. And they tried that rotation as well, just to kind of keep people's sleep patterns a little bit more normal when they got home, because it is one of those jobs where you're constantly patrolling throughout the night shift, and depending on what unit or outside or where you're stationed, there isn't any breaks per se. You're always on. So going home after a 12-hour night shift from 7 to 7, and most people have lives and families and everything else. It's not like you're just holed up in your corner sleeping. So they did trial different things to see if that would work.
That's awesome. And then, so when you decided to make the jump, it was because Prince George had opened up that posting? Is that, or did you go to Ontario between corrections and fire?
Yeah, I left corrections in 2011, and my husband and I moved to Ontario for a couple of years and just, trialed things there. And our kids were at an age where we were talking about schools, and his family's back east. So, and they're getting older. So we thought we'd go and be helpful there. His grandmother just lost his grandfather. So, it just seemed like a good time alignment to give that a go. And being in between careers where I knew I was going to have to leave corrections anyway, and just was looking for something different. So it was a really great like reset for us to kind of trial being somewhere else and seeing what that looked like. And we kind of just said, you know what, we'll go give this a couple of years. We knew Prince George wasn't going to hire until probably the 2-year mark, and they just done a big hire at that time, and I was like 8 months pregnant, so it wasn't applicable to me. So it was like, hey, you know what, we'll give it a couple of years and then we'll work again to see where that's at, and kind of made the commitment that I'd run a couple competitions in Ontario as well. And it just worked out that I was successful in the competitions that I did run, and I had options.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really good. Is your husband a first responder too?
And yeah, so he actually, when we got together, he's been a bricklayer for years. And then after I got hired with Prince George Fire, after a few years, he was like, I'm working in camp and your job looks pretty good. So he applied as well. So we both work for Prince George Fire.
Oh, that's awesome. I like that. Okay, we're going to dive into a little bit of that. I definitely want to talk about that. Okay, and so then what was like the recruitment process? So you said like you applied and then there was a hiring freeze. So you're just basically sitting on a list being like, please God, fucking open it up because I want to do some work here. But like, what did that recruitment process look like for you?
Yeah, so usually when like fire departments recruit, they post their job posting that you would apply to, and you hand in your resume with all of your courses. And so for Prince George Fire specifically, we look for an NFPA 1001. So you have to have like a firefighter school under your belt. You need a class 3 driver's license with an air brake endorsement so that you can drive the trucks. And then, you know, first aid and then other specialty certificates would be like preferred. So our department is really unique. We were the first department in BC to go all emergency medical responder qualified. So everyone is a licensed like low-level paramedic for our department. So we piloted that in 2006, and then Delta Fire followed and did a very similar thing, I believe in 2008, 2009. I could be corrected on that. And we were the only 2 departments to be fully EMR qualified. So that makes us really unique. And yeah, so those were kind of like the key things. And then you can add things like hazmat technician and high angle and all the other facets that go with fire as a role, because it's a lot different than like, you know, just fight fire.
Totally.
Prince George is a jack of all trades department. We have hazmat, we have swift water, we have ice rescue, we have urban interface. Like there's lots to that. So lots of specialty teams to take place in that as well.
So how did you get your 1001 and your EMR? Like at what point did you do this for school, like schooling?
I went to Texas for my 1001. So Texas offered an online program. It's one of those things like, you know, it was a great program that gave me access to keep my career and, you know, seek out the opportunities that I wanted. So I'm grateful for that program. For younger applicants, I would highly recommend going to like a brick and mortar school and going through all the reps, because you're hands-on. You just can't replace that experience. Yeah. But yeah, I went to Texas for my 1001, and then I went to the Justice Institute for my hazmat technician and my emergency medical responder. And I went to the Justice Institute a lot. I think I was just chatting with one of the people because they've employed me for the last 10 years that I teach for them now as well. But I went and I did a law enforcement and investigation certificate program with them in the early 2000s, and did all my security officer training with them when I was in corrections. And then I started doing like fire courses, and I continued through the fire prevention officer program and the fire officer program. So I think I've been going there for 22 years or 25 years or whatever it is. It's crazy.
You're like, I deserve my own desk. This is my desk. This is where I always get to sit.
Certificates. I was teasing the gal that I want a degree.
So where is the Justice Institute?
So their main campus is in New Westminster, but then they have satellite campuses on the island, in Chilliwack, and up north here as well. Kelowna. Yeah, so they do have satellite campuses, and then we do contract work as well. So if the department reaches out and says, hey, we'd like someone to teach fire service instructor, then they call instructors like myself and say, hey, would you be willing to go to Pouce and teach fire service instructor? And so
is that the school to get all of these certificates? Like, can you, because I know, like, I was going to say St. FX, but I don't think it's, oh my God, what is the university in BC? Like, I know UVic has the criminology program. There's another university and I can't freaking remember what it is, but like, I know they have criminology programs, and I'm assuming some of the public colleges have like the correctional services or public security diploma, like things like that. Or is this like, this is the school?
The Justice Institute, I've been really biased because that's where the majority of my education is, and then they've employed me too. So they've treated me really, really well. But they have a really great, diverse platform for especially first responders. They have a police academy. They have a health science division that does their whole paramedic academy. So you can take your emergency medical responder, you can take your primary care paramedic, you can take an advanced level paramedic as well. So there's lots of options. They run an emergency management program, and then your fire officer programs, never mind your firefighting training at the Maple Ridge campus. So, the sheriffs, the list goes on. They cover such a wide range of, it's really special that way, but it is an agency. There's lots of agencies that offer, similar programs on paper. And yeah, I think it's just what aligns with you and what aligns with where you want to go.
Yeah, totally. No, I've heard lots of really good things about it. So that's why I was interested in what is that? But, and so then going back to the recruiting process, so you have to have all those certificates, you've got to have all your poop in a group, and then you have the fitness portion of it. So what is the breakdown? Because I'm just wondering if it's the same as it is in Alberta as it is in BC. What was the fitness requirement for you?
It depends on which department you apply to. So the fire departments are really unique because it's municipality based. So municipality based means that they set their own standard. So the typical fire fitness assessment would be the CPAT, which candidate physical ability test. And that's a very common set standard, but York University runs their own, Brock runs their own, many departments, Kamloops, right off the top of my head.
Edmonton Fire.
Yeah, there's lots of departments that run their own as well. So depending on what department you apply, it's really a matter of just researching what they require. Some departments will require a swim test to be attached to your physical, as well as the physical component of whatever assessment model they run. So yeah, it depends. When I ran the York University one, there was several things where they had a claustrophobia section where they locked you in a box. You had to count the washers. They had, you had to climb a ladder tower and unhook a coupling at the top of the ladder and come back down comfortably. And then they had time segments as well as the VO2 max run as well. So it really just depends on which department you're applying to and what their standard is.
And so what was Prince George's?
Prince George right now runs the CPAD.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The claustrophobia box, there's no fucking way, buddy. I don't know if you've listened to the podcast where I talk about how I would fucking Hulk out if somebody stuck me in a tube or in a fucking box and was count the washers. I'd be like, no, there's no fucking way, man. I would be out of that box so goddamn fast, which is why I very quickly learned that I could not become a firefighter because that would, no, there's I already have the fucking heebie-jeebies. No, thank you. Climbing heights, good to go. Fucking put the SCBA on, fucking good to go. Put me in a dark box. Hella no. It ain't
That's a deal breaker, right?
It ain't fucking happening. Nope. That's interesting though, because it is true. And I never had thought about that, about the different little things that, because you can standardize a fitness test, right? You can standardize, climb the ladder, do the VO2 max, do the sledgehammer, hold the tools, but then there's those things that you could pass all that shit. And then they put you in a fucking box. And that's where you lose your mind, right? That's where, or they put you at the top of the ladder. That's really, really high up ladder, not the little do on the test ladder, but fucking way up on that ladder. And you realize oh, I don't like it up here, right? So that is, or even the swimming side of things, like you're saying, that add in a swim. I know a lot of firefighters that are not very good swimmers at all, right? They would not pass the swimming portion. So yeah, very, very interesting. And then, so when you got hired, how many people got hired with you?
So the way Prince George did it when I got hired is they hired groups. So as you had retirements, they'd have set times of the year where if they had 4 retirements, they'd take 4 new candidates. You never got hired in a group of 1. So I got hired in a group of 2. That's what was allocated for the fall, the year that we got hired. So it was me and one other candidate that got hired, and I got really lucky. I got a solid candidate, and we're best friends. So it worked out really, really well. So it was cool to be able to navigate that, especially because I grew up in Prince George Fire. My dad was a firefighter, so I came in and there was lots of people that knew me, and it's really weird because obviously there was topics of conversation too when they were hiring a woman, where they're like, oh, what's this going to be and how am I going to have to act and everything else. And like, it was really easy to navigate that out. But obviously the conversation took place before I got hired, where, to get hired with a really solid dude where we were just in it, and he kind of joked that I was like the billboard that he just hide behind and be like, good luck.
I love it. So break that down for me a little bit. Cause like, I like, how was that to navigate to be the first? Because I had spoken to another firefighter who had retired from Edmonton she was the first of the first of the first for like every single stage, first deputy fire chief, first, like, and as a female. And so she talked about how, she just wanted to go in. She didn't want to be known as a female firefighter. She just wanted to be known as a firefighter. That's like, she really was like, it really frustrated me. And they kept wanting to put me in the paper and, smile and do this photo op and did it. And she's like, and I just wanted to like, kind of like just lay low. I didn't want all this attention. She's like, I look back on it now and I realize how good it is, because visibility for other women is what leads other women to believe that they can do it too. But she says at the time, like, I was like, fuck, like, just let me get in and get done. Like, I don't want all these people, like, it's already going to be hard enough. I don't want this added extra layer. So what was that like for you?
You know what? I think we all have those like stories, and I don't even want to say it with regret, because at the end of the day, like, nobody catered anything for us. We met the standards. We were the best applicant, and I'd like to think that's why we were chosen. But coming in as the first, there definitely is. Like, I had wonderful, wonderful men that were on my crew. They were my captain, and they're like, they'll go get the door for me. And then they're like, wait, you're the rookie. You're supposed to get the door, but you're a girl. So I'm going to hold the door. I don't know what to do. And then it was like this panic, but like in the cutest way. And, I am really fortunate because I got hired in a community that I grew up with, that lots of people knew my sports background. Everybody knew I was feisty and could give it just as well as I could get it. So that, I think, helped me navigate things. They definitely did that. Like, when I got hired, they put out a thing in the paper and I chose not to participate in that. And I had a good conversation with the chief and just said, listen, like, I realize I'm not going to be able to lay low, but I'd really like to lay low and just earn my spot. We all come in as firefighter candidates. Yeah. I didn't think that I earned anything. I got hired with another guy that was just as qualified, if not more. He used to be a smoke jumper in wildland. So he's like the badass of wildland firefighters. Like, hey, I worked to corrections. Yeah. Like, everybody before us that got hired, and even everybody after us, like, everybody's coming in with their own story and their own life experience, that we didn't earn our spot. You're basically like a baby firefighter and a little apprentice that's just going through. So I didn't feel right taking part in those interviews. And I had captains pull me aside and say, hey, you know what? Like, good move. But now looking at it with a different lens, and representation is a big piece where, somewhere there's a little Katie that, doesn't know. And I still get the comments. One of the driving instructors here. So we had a new recruit and she was driving the truck. I was in the other side, and one of the guys got a text message from their son. There's like, there's two firefighters, and they're driving the truck, and they're girls. Like, it's just one of those, like, you still hear it. And as I started participating in things, that really came to light for me, because I never really put a label on like the gender portion of it. I knew that I was going to be the first woman to be hired, but I didn't really think it was that big of a deal. I'm like, cool. IP sitting down, high five.
Yeah.
Other than that, like, yeah, it is a thing, but you look at that representation, and that's why I've gotten myself involved with like things like Camp Ignite, and it's gotten me to connect with a few girls, especially through rugby programs and things, because like I get asked by union representatives from different departments, and they're like, hey, how do we like actively recruit more women? And it's like, well, it's not like, make it accessible in the fact that like it's not marketed to us. Like, even when you look at like child firefighter costumes, you got the cute little dress one for girls, and you got like the legit one for like boys. And I think we're getting to a different point now where girls are being able to grow up and see that they can be firefighters, but it just wasn't the same. It's not marketed to you. And that's where like programs like Camp Ignite, I will champion, and everyone has their opinions on it. I get emails every year on, well, why don't we have one of these for boys? And I was like, you're welcome to create a firefighter camp for boys. And I'm
literally, Deborah said that. That's exactly what she said. You are more than welcome to create this. Go ahead. You want to make one for boys, light it up. We've made this for girls. Like, yeah. Yeah,
And it's just,
I love that.
it's recognizing, like, it's not necessarily even a need. Like when you look at diversity representation, your agency should represent your community. Oh, 52% of the population is female. Should probably have some women on, especially, our job has adapted. It probably doesn't matter too much if you're fighting fires, but when you're going to medicals and really dealing with patients in that intimate level, it does help to have that diversity response there. There's, several calls that have shown up and they're like, we just need Katie and the rest of you guys can stay downstairs. And, it's not because I'm special. It just happens to be that I'm what's going to make the patient more comfortable at the time. So, that is a thing that, that representation piece is a big one, but, we figure it out as we go for sure.
Totally. I really enjoy that. I think that's exactly right. And so then when you started, like, how many people are on the fire department in Prince George?
We have a membership of just shy of 130.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, like, in my mind, I keep thinking Prince George is tiny, but it's really not. It's quite large now.
Prince George is actually deceiving because, like, our population base is about 90,000, give or take. But we actually service 330,000 just because of the rural communities that we service as the hub. Like, we have the cancer clinic, we have the hospital. We're big enough, and we're the central part of the north that, we're really deceiving that way, where you think, oh, it's a small town, and we operate as a big town, even though we are a small town. So you get that good community feel, but our call volume is significant right now. Prince George Fire, it stays within the Prince George jurisdiction, but we service about 330,000 because all the rural communities come to Prince George for shopping, like Costco and any medical things and everything else. So our representation is a little bit skewed, where our population's small, our community feel is quite small, but we actually are an epicenter for northern BC, where a lot of communities, if you're from Quesnel or Fort St. John, etc., and you need like healthcare specifically, you come to PG. So that has upped our population, and that's where like Prince George Fire's call volume is significant compared to other municipalities around our size.
And so then how many fire halls do you have within the city?
We have 4. So,
okay.
We have our city demographic. We have one in College Heights, one in the northern part of the town, which is like the Hart Highway area. And then we have 2 downtown in separate locations. So we're strategically laid out throughout the city that we should be able to get anywhere under 5 minutes.
Okay. And then, so you guys, do you call them platoons or troops or shifts?
We go with shifts. Everything's kind of interchangeable. As I've started talking to firefighters, like, we have the guys in the back that typically would, go and get out and do the things on the fire truck, because then you have your driver and your officer. Sometimes, like, we call them on the jump seat. Other people call them tailgaters. Like, it really just, every municipality's got their like things.
Yeah. So then how many people would you have on your shift?
We have a minimum staffing of 19. So there's 19 for like one like C shift. And then they're spread out throughout the 4 halls. So depending on how many pieces your hall carries. So if you have a 1-piece hall, you may have a 4-man crew. If you're downtown, we run a engine and a rescue. And then we also have a ladder/medic truck. And we have an assistant chief in our structure that kind of runs those big calls and runs the shift. So our minimum staffing is 19.
Okay. And then what are your shifts? Your 12s as well?
No, so we're 24-hour shifts. So we work 24 hours, and then we get a 24-hour break, and we work another 24 hours, and then we get a set number of days off before we go back again.
Awesome. Yeah. Do you like, because like you did do the 12, so you knew what the 12s were like, and then going like, which one do you prefer?
I really love the 24-hour shifts. Like, I'm the type of person, like, when I'm in a headspace, if I'm at work, leave me at work. I'm in work mode, and that was good. And especially when my kids were little, because, you'd get off of a shift at 7:00 and it'd be like dinner, bath, bed. And you're not really firing in that mom mode yet. You're in work mode. And so it's really nice, because now my kids are older, so it doesn't really apply when they're in university. But to be able to like go to work at 7 a.m. and come home at 7 a.m., even if you have to take your kids to school or whatever, then you have that day to like decompress and go from work person to home person before being obligated to other things. So I really do see the benefit to the employee.
Yeah, for sure. And so then what is a typical day? And I always ask this question and like people are kind of like, well, it's not the same because everything is different. But what would like a typical day look like? You'd show up, say for like a 7 a.m. to 7 a.m., show up at 7 a.m. What does that look like for you? What's the first thing you guys are doing? What do you have equipment checks or anything like that?
Totally. So yeah, the first couple hours is dedicated to equipment checks, and that, we do a quick shift exchange with the person. So if I was replacing you, you'd talk about your shift and what calls you did, what equipment you used, just so that when I'm doing my equipment checks, I'm even extra diligent in that. And then once you've gone home, I'll take over that spot on the truck and I would check the truck with my crew, just making sure that our inventory is correct and that we're set up for success and ready to go for the day. At that time, you're now on shift, so you're always applicable to whatever calls come in. So I've walked to the door and boom, structure fire. And then I've walked in the door and had 3 hours to check my truck. So it does look different that way. But so we usually do equipment checks, and then we do a little bit of a crew debrief on what our goals are for the day, what kind of training is going to take place, we do company inspections. So we'll go out as a crew and inspect businesses just to make sure that their fire compliance is good, and also do pre-incident planning for us. So the benefit of a company inspection is not only do we go as a crew, but we actually get to like learn the layout of that business and some of the isms as well. So if there was a incident there, we can navigate it and know where important exits and things are.
Where hydrants are.
So there's a huge benefit to that. So that takes up a good portion of our day in between juggling calls. And then we have a set amount of training that we need to complete, as well as like assigned training from the training branch and extra things. So it does like fill up your day really quickly. And then because we work a 24-hour shift, there's like hall chores to be done as well. Like we clean our bathrooms and we clean the kitchen just like you would your like normal house.
Yeah.
So it makes for a busy day. Like it makes it go by fast, and teamwork makes the dream work. That's one of the things I love about the fire service is I always have a team around me. And that was a big component to me looking at fire versus like law enforcement is. I didn't love being left alone on a unit or in a car or whatever. Whereas now everywhere we go, whether it's good calls, bad calls, you kind of like have your like people, which is really nice.
Yeah. And so, because I know in Edmonton, I think I'd have to go back and listen, but it's every X amount of years, they do like a switch and they switch you shifts or they switch you halls or they switch you. And so how does that work for you guys? Like, is it on a rotation? Is it as per so-and-so has retired and they were in this hazmat role? And so now we need somebody who's hazmat trained that's going to go there, which causes the kind of shift, or like, how does that work?
There's both. There's a little bit of that where, if an officer's retired, that next officer in seniority would bump up. So they might be taken out of their typical shift rotation. And then we rotate halls every 6 months. So because we have 2 halls that are very, very busy halls, and we have 2 outline halls that have a different call volume that, they may not be as busy numerically, but when things go wrong, they go really wrong. And all 4 halls have different like training opportunities and evolutions. So our hall 3 has all of our auto X equipment. Our hall 4 has all of our hazmat equipment. So it gives everybody a good like brush through the city, keeps everybody, aware of what streets and everything else, because that's a huge part to our job is knowing your area, knowing your streets, knowing where your hydrants are. So when that call comes in at 3:00 in the morning, you're firing going, okay, I've got to take this left and that right, and we're there. This is where my hydrant is, so that's where I'm going to stage my apparatus. So that is a key piece to that for sure.
That's very interesting. I like that. And I love, again, the mandatory training. I think fire, that is where it's at. I don't know if you know her, Daisy Van Ravensway out of Edmonton, and she's just an absolute fucking rock star, like a fangirl on her so hard. So Daisy, if you're listening, I hope you're fucking listening to this episode because I love you. But she was talking about how like it's the responsibility of the crew to train each other. And so as a rookie, that was one of your things was you would train your crew. And I was like, oh my God, like that's intimidating. She goes, yeah, but it makes you know your shit. When you have to teach it to somebody else, you have to know your shit. And she's like, and it's just consistent, constant training for us. We're always relearning, learning new things. You're always at the top of your game for that training. Whereas if you look at law enforcement, you look at corrections, you look at like, we might get a research training once every 2 years, 3 years. It's never mandatory. You might have to go through like a little bit of training once a year, a half day thing. Like training is not a priority, unfortunately, for law enforcement. And so I think it is, I love how fire does it. I think that's the way it should be done. That model that you guys have of, mandated training coming down from the central branch, and then other things that you guys are like, let's bone up on this. We haven't done this for a while. We haven't played with this piece of equipment for a while. Let's get on it. I think it's incredible. That's the greatest way to do it.
Well, all skills are perishable, right? Like you can be really good at tying knots. If you don't tie knots for a long time, and you're not going to be great at tying knots. So, having that repetitive repetition just makes sure that everybody's firing on the same page. And, it's no different than like speaking a second language. If you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So then I want to kind of circle back to your husband is also a firefighter, same place, same job, same fucking shifts. How, because I've done an episode on like first responder couples. How do you guys navigate that? I mean, your kids are older. You said one's in university and one's still in high school, I think.
Yeah, he's just graduating. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you navigate that with both of you doing the same job with 24-hour shifts and not wanting to murder each other?
Yeah, well, the reality is we just don't see each other. We're on opposite shifts. So his days off are my days on and vice versa. So that helps.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have a really good tag team effect.
It's true. It's true. I had a couple on my couple podcasts. They were Alberta Health Services peace officers. And that's what he was working, she was sleeping, she was working, he was sleeping, but they managed to get their days off together. So they would have their opposites 4 and then their 4 together. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's good. Cause otherwise you don't ever see your spouse. And I remember even me, like my husband's not a first responder. He's like Monday to Friday or heavy duty mechanic. But there would be times where like I would not see him for 6 days. If I was working afternoons, 3 to 11s, I'm sleeping in the morning. I'm not getting fucking up. I was up until whatever 1:30 in the morning. I'm not getting up with you to say goodbye at 7 a.m. Fuck off. Let me sleep. Like, love you, but bye. Right. And then he would go to bed and I wouldn't come home until 1:30 in the morning. He's fast asleep. So for 6 days, we wouldn't see each other. So how do you manage that? Like in that, like you don't see each other, so you don't murder each other. That's good. But then how do you keep that relationship where you're strong with your spouse and not let work bleed into everything you talk about?
Healthy boundaries. It's really what it comes down to. It's really healthy boundaries. Like we both support each other, but you may not be my like go-to if I have a bad day, just because usually like I said, he's at work too. I think it helps because he was always in camp and that, you're not used to seeing your spouse. So now it's like, oh, you're right there. You're fine. So our model looks a little bit different, but yeah, it's setting that where like it is easy to have work come into it. And it's just having those boundaries of, hey, like when we're at home, we're in home mode. When we're at work, we're in work mode. I don't really care what the like rumor mill is. I probably heard it on my shifts. And if I haven't, then that's cool too. I'm not really so like that's worked out really well for us where, yeah. And like we're so busy invested in other things in our community that work's only like one chapter. Most of the time, if we're nerding out at all, it's usually on rugby.
Yes. Okay. And that's a perfect segue, like perfect segue. So you guys co-founded the 1697 Rugby Club. And so tell me about this. Tell me how this came about. Like, how did we come up with the name? Like, I just love all of it.
Well, we started collecting first responders because originally it was to go to the World Police Fire Games. Obviously, like we co-founded in 2019 and then COVID. So that put a little bit of like hoop into it. And then 2023, we took teams to Winnipeg World Police Fire Games where the boys won a bronze medal. So that was really, really cool. And when we started chatting about it, it was, World Police Fire Games has become really inclusive. It's not just fire and police anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You've got sheriffs, you've got correctional officers, you have paramedics now, which is phenomenal. You have forest firefighters, peace officer statuses. So there's lots of people that participate in this. So we didn't want like, badges and bros or whatever. Mm-hmm. And what we did say is because we were collecting so many people from so many communities is 2 major highways in BC are Highway 16 and Highway 97. And they happen to intersect in Prince George. So they bring all the communities together to play rugby is kind of the whole philosophy that started our rugby program. So, and even now with our youth program, completely separate from the first responder side, we have kids that travel. I have a girl that travels in from Quesnel, which she lives a little bit out of Quesnel. So it's a 2-hour one-way trip. So she commutes 3 times a week to come train with me. She's just an absolute rock star, and her parents are so supportive. We have kids in Burns Lake that's 3.5 hours, and they travel to come train with us at least once a week. 100 miles, same thing, that's almost a 4-hour drive, and they come in. So having the highways intersect really didn't give ownership on like the Prince George community. It was everyone is inclusive in that, and we didn't want we wanted something that really had that inclusive message to it, that it is for anybody. We didn't have like the highwaymen, because I was like, well, what if I put in a girls team?
Yeah.
And so, we really wanted something inclusive. So we named it the 1697s Rugby Club. And that's really what stuck. And, it's kind of gone through its things. I love our philosophy and our messaging on it. So it really did stick. But it actually makes for a really crappy cheer.
I was literally just thinking that. I was literally just about to ask, what the fuck is your cheer? Because that's really hard.
That's right. And so it was really funny because when I founded Aurora Wolves, I have the Aurora Wolves Rugby Union. So if it's an acronym, it's ARU.
Yes.
So you've got your wolf howl and everything else. And one of the moms phoned me. It's my favorite voicemail message I've ever received. I still have it. And she goes, Katie, I just thought about this. And she's like, Aurora Wolves Rugby Union. And she does her wolf howl. And she goes, that's hilarious. Did you know about this? I had to phone her and be like, yeah, no, it was strategic for sure. And now I'm like, again, being the first responder background that we have, we're all into our swag and everything else. So I have one of those inflatable wolves that looks like you're riding it. And it's a huge hit at our big tournaments. And yeah, so our swag game's on point.
Yes, I love it. So what do you do for a cheer? Do you say 1697s?
Well, right. We've got a few. It depends on which tournament we go to.
Yeah.
My husband's almost 50, and a lot of the men that we have on our team right now are a lot younger. Some of them we coached as U14s, and they're now in that just graduated out of U18.
Yeah.
And so he really is the old man deal. So I think they've got something like, let's get her done. And the guys started cheering, yes, Dad. So, it is really funny. We've really stuck with We're the North, and that one's really taken off, is that, who's the North? We're the North. And it's just that representation of the grit and determination that these northern rural communities have to put in to participate in rugby, because they weren't, it didn't exist in their community. Burns Lake, we went and did a try rugby day with the school systems, and I put out a grant for it. And so I had Burns Lake apply, and they had to show that they had someone dedicated in the community to help out with the program after we came and did a try rugby day. So we donated a bunch of equipment to the school and met with the school people, and then ran a day for the kids. And we had a couple of guys that are our CMP members there that came out and helped, and were just absolutely pivotal in that. And now Burns Lake has a full-blown high school program, and they come and compete. So they're my true success story right now. And just, here's a community that didn't have that. And out of it, there's one boy, he's probably 6'4" and close to 300 pounds. And 14 years old. The biggest 14-year-old I've ever seen in my life. I'm like, if you don't play for Canada, I did something wrong.
Right? I know. It's so funny. It's because we go to Smithers all the time, right? My husband's family lives there. His brother lives there. Their cousins live there. And my kids had asked one time, and it was I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And they were like, Mom, would we ever move to Smithers? Just to live, it'd be closer to everybody, auntie and uncle. And I was like, well, I mean, obviously Dad and I would have to find jobs, and then my middle pipes up. She's like, yeah, there's no rugby here, so we won't be moving. And then I kind of thought about it, and I was like, you know what, you're right. There isn't rugby here, but I bet you this town would fucking love rugby. I bet you they would love it if we could get a program going. And so then I was of course my rugby brain starts. I'm like, oh my God, we could start a high school team, and then we could start a club, and then we could have minis, and there's all these little kids. I'm like, fuck soccer. We're going to take all the soccer kids. We're going to take all the hockey kids, and we're going to take all everybody from the surrounding areas. We're going to bring them on. Kelly's like, we don't live here. Stop planning this stuff.
It's
Okay, you're
funny
right.
because Smithers in their high school program has a very strong wrestling program. Like a very strong wrestling program with some phenomenal athletes. And so I've been really trying with the coaches to be like, how do we get rugby? Like, what do I need to do? Help me, help you.
Yes.
Because my brain works very similarly, where it's like, what do you mean you don't have a rugby team? You have a wrestling team. Let's put those kids on the field. Like, those are different seasons.
It's called off-season training, guys. Off-season training. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Incredible. Okay. Well, this has been amazing. I love all the work that you're doing. I love the energy that you bring to this career, the knowledge and just the professionalism that I can hear in your voice is just incredible. So thank you for all the awesome things that you do and for all that hard work. But I like to wrap up and I always like to ask fun rapid fire questions. And I think you're going to have some really great answers for this one. So number one, what is your favorite food or snack while you are on shift?
My favorite, well, we have candy bags, and I married a candy guy, so in our like canteen at work, there's candy bags, and that's probably like our go-to. But I'm most well known for my lasagna.
Oh, yes. Fuck, I love a good lasagna.
Yeah,
Yes, yes. See, in fire, it's all about the food. You guys are all about the foods and the eatings, which I also see. I besides the claustrophobia part, I'm a firefighter at heart, guys. I'm telling you. Besides that minor detail. Okay. Number two, and again, I love this one, especially for fire people. What is your favorite piece of equipment that you get to use in your job?
my Halligan bar.
Okay.
It just kind of does all of it.
Okay. And somebody else had mentioned this. This is like the big pickaxe thing, right? With like the hook on the end and then it's got the hammer part on the front. Yeah.
Typically like it's a forcible entry tool. I teach forcible entry with the team with Prince George. So yeah, that's probably my like favorite multi-tool.
And just because it's so versatile or like, what about it?
Yeah, just everything. I don't know. It's one of those like when you're carrying it, it's kind of like when people grab an axe or anything else. Is like, I'm a firefighter. It's like,
yeah,
you don't really carry a Halligan bar unless you're a firefighter.
Yeah, you're like, I'm gonna go smash some shit right now.
Yeah, I do have a bit of a Wreck-It Ralph tendency for sure.
My husband calls me Ramrod. He's like, okay, Ramrod, when it didn't fit, so you fucking made it fit. I'm like, fucking right, I did. Fucking
I'll go
right,
crashing through like the Kool-Aid man.
That's right. Yes. Okay. awesome. Okay. And then number three, what is one of like the craziest calls that you've had to go to? And it doesn't have to be like traumatic or just like, holy shit, I can't believe all this stuff happened on this call.
Oh, I don't know.
I know it's a tough one. I put you guys on the spot when I ask these ones.
That one is a tough one. You know, it's one of those, I think the like most crazy one for me is like how resilient people are. You know, like you'll go to an accident and the vehicle had been rolled down an embankment and the person had been ejected and they're like sitting on the side of the road smoking a dart. And you're like, you were in that? And they got like, yeah, I think those are like the ones that are like, you just came out of that and you're okay? Okay.
Yep.
That's like the wild component for me because you always like, you always see it. And with our job specifically, you see the calls that do not go that way. Mm-hmm. But every once in a while, you just have that person that was like touched and they were like, no, I walked away and I have a scratch. And you're like,
yes.
No.
I totally agree with that. I would look at some inmates sometimes and having known what they've done to their bodies, having known the amount of drugs that they have used, the living on the streets, no food, no warmth, and like they are still alive and kicking and like surviving. And I just think to myself, the human body is absolutely fucking incredible. How is this person still alive for all of the things that have happened to them, that they've been put through, that they've done to themselves? Like, how is this person still alive? Like, yes, the resiliency. Incredible answer. Incredible answer. Okay. Well, that's it. You fucking check the box. You nailed this one. This is an incredible episode, you guys. If you are listening to this episode and you are a little Katie and you're saying, you know what, I think I could be a firefighter. Fucking yes, you can. Absolutely go do it. If you're looking for a rugby program and you live in Northern BC, fucking absolutely get a hold of Katie and let's go. Let's do it. Do you have any other last words for our listeners before we wrap up?
No, this was awesome. I really enjoyed it. This is my first podcast, guys.
Yeah. And she fucking nailed it, everybody. She fucking nailed it. So go tell your friends how rad this episode is and go tell them about all the awesome things that we talked about. And drop me a line, guys. If you have more badass females that you know that you want me to interview, I would love to send me the names. Send me names, send me phone numbers, send me fucking let me creep on people in their DMs. I have no problem being a creeper and just like coming up on somebody and being like, hi, I have a podcast. Do you want to be on it? So let me know if you know people, guys. Yeah, it's been a treat, Katie. I thank you for being on the show. Thanks for sharing all of your awesome information with us. And I hope you have an awesome rest of your day.
You too. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, that's it for today, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in, listening, giving me your time, your energy, and your attention. I completely appreciate it. Make sure you check out our next episode with another badass female first responder anywhere you get your favorite podcasts. And follow us on Instagram and Facebook at bluelinefitnesstesting.com. I hope you stay safe, keep your head on a swivel, and watch your six.